Hi, and welcome to episode 29 of the Simply Great Relationships podcast. We're so glad that you could join us today. I'm Marina Varon, and with me is Meredith Silversmith, and today we are talking about moving from two I's to a we, something we've both had to do, and something we've guided a lot of couples in doing. And today we'll be covering I mindset versus we mindset. How to know if you're ready for the big we, challenges in becoming a weeing without losing our eyes. I know that's something that's been really important for both of us. And creating your own we. So there is no one size fits all we. How to create your own that's really best for you. And also make sure to stay until the very end because we've got a really great bonus for you and we'll tell you how to get it at the end.
Yep. This is an interesting topic, I think. This idea of the I mindset versus the we mindset. I don't know that it's explicitly talked about a lot. I think it's sort of like people are aware of it without labeling it this way. And then I know you and I, when we're working with couples, we kind of draw it out. But, the I mindset, I kind of notice when someone's coming from an I mindset place when they're talking about what's best for them, what's their view of, the best kind of relationship, a lot of shoulds, right? When you start to hear like, well, it should be this way and it should be that way and this is what I want. And, it's a very individual focused process rather than looking at like the collective good. What do you find about that?
The word rigid comes to mind. There's like a certain rigidity that goes with that. Like, I don't want to use the old cliche, like it's my way or the highway, but it is a little bit like, this is my way and this is the way it should be done. And I think it creates like a lot of room for assumptions because if you know in your head how a relationship is supposed to look, but your partner doesn't because different person, different background, different values, but you're assuming they do. That's where all those miscommunications and all those headbutts and all those fights and all that pressure and distress and unmet needs come from. And that's what makes the relationship feel really unstable.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about the we mindset? Like, how do you start to notice when an individual or a couple are coming from that place?
So I think there is this real kind of collective focus, like what is best for us viewpoint as opposed to just like what's best for me in this moment. And it's not necessarily like giving up what's best for you. It's just also really making a mindful habit of always considering I'm a part of this system and I function as an integral part of the system and I always have to keep this system in mind.
Definitely.
And sometimes put what's best for the system as opposed to just what I want in the moment.
Yeah, and that's a big shift, right? And going from the I mindset to the we mindset is something that needs to happen in a healthy relationship and doesn't always. I do think that that's something that can come up when couples aren't aware that that's a part of the process. They start to run into some of that conflict and some of that not being able to come to a mutual understanding. So I know we talk about this with our clients, but how to know when you're ready, if you're ready and when you're ready to become a we, because it's not just, oh, okay, we're going to move in together. Oh, okay, we're going to get married. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about creating a true collaboration. It's like almost like building a team and then considering, is our team ready to move in together? Is our team ready to get married? Is our team ready for all this stuff? And I think there are some really like key questions that you can ask yourself that give you a lot of insight into like, am I there yet? Am I ready for this? Is this this is where you're allowed to be kind of I mindset. Like, am I ready for this in this point in my life? Am I ready to give this part of myself and live in this collaboration?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the first question that comes to mind is is it okay that like sometimes I'm going to get the things that I want and sometimes my partner is going to get the things that they want, but most of the time we're going to compromise and meet somewhere in the middle-ish.
Yeah.
That most of the time it's not going to be exclusively what I want.
Yeah. So is the answer to that question a yes? Then you're probably, closer to being ready for becoming a we. If it's an absolutely not, then maybe not so much. I know one that comes up a lot is, and if we think of it sort of as a belief, right? As we create our own family, because becoming a we is creating your own family, we will need to set healthy boundaries with our extended family and friends. And that's a tough one, and I've definitely worked with couples where, I think even the friend thing comes in where one partner, is used to spending every Friday, Saturday night and, football Sunday or brunch with the lady. There's some sort of rituals with the friends that takes up the whole weekend. And, that's great when you're an I, but if you're forming your own family and, making it a we, that may not work for your partner. And, are you ready to, do you believe that that wouldn't be ideal for your relationship? And are you ready to give some of that up and shift your energy in a different direction?
Yeah. And I don't think that's always like a negative thing because you want to be in a relationship because it's positive and enriching. It's just, are you ready to embrace the change? That's how I always put it out to couples I'm coaching. It's like, change is not a bad thing. I feel like people treat change as like this tough, harsh, like emotional process. It's not. It can be like a super rewarding thing, but you need to be ready to embrace that reward. And I think this question really asks like, are you ready to embrace the reward of your relationship in lieu of like maybe giving up some time with other well-established relationships? Such
and that
as
that's
family
okay.
and friends. Yeah, and that's okay.
Right. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah. Another question is, am I in this place where I can accept and be okay with the fact that my partner and I are not always gonna agree? And that's just fine.
Yeah. Because it's not realistic. Right? To think that you're always going to agree with your partner. Nobody always agrees with their partner. I don't always agree with my partner.
I certainly don't always agree with my partner. And I feel like I have a great relationship. And I hope George feels the same way, right? But I think that is such a telltale sign of I mindset because we always agree is more, my partner always agrees with me.
Yeah.
Right? So, to me, that's always like a bit of a red flag and a telltale sign of like, that is I mentality, not we mentality, because couples can agree on a large majority of stuff. They can have really similar values and backgrounds, and sure, it's great to agree. But if you're like, we're going to agree on everything all the time, and this is something I've come across a lot. That's to me always a bit of a red flag. So and this is where it's really important to be genuine with yourself. Like, we're not saying it's wrong to feel this way. We're just saying that is indicative of a certain place in your life. It's not a forever place.
Yeah, definitely. I know another one that comes up quite a bit is, if you are more ready for a we, is, I expect each of us to be responsible for our own actions and emotions and not, well, my partner is going to be responsible for my emotions, or my partner, can't make me feel that way, or I shouldn't make my partner feel this way. It's sort of this, we would use the word enmeshed, right? This sort of, we've gone from two eyes to one big eye, right? Instead of like from two eyes to a we. So you want to kind of come from a place of believing we can seek support and comfort from each other. We can offer empathy and validation, but neither partner is responsible for solving the other one's problems or changing their emotion. That's your job as an individual.
Yes, so I think that question is really good to like see, are you going to dive into the deep end of the pool, which is also like not a good place to go to right away. Another one is, are you just in that frame of mind? Are you in that place in your life where you're really ready to embrace a change? Things are going to change. Things are going to change in good ways. Things are going to change in challenging ways. When we become a we, am I ready for that? Am I ready to embrace that? Am I ready to take the good with the bad?
Yeah, because that's realistic. And I think a lot of these, if you really look at these questions and beliefs, it's about being realistic about what a healthy relationship looks like. And can you get behind these ideas? Can you align yourself with these ideas? If yes, then you're ready to step into that relationship in that we place.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think some of the challenges are in taking that step?
Let's preface this. I know we've talked about this before a lot. We're both only children. So like, I feel like I was married to my I.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that I can like really speak personally from where the challenges come from. And I've seen this a lot in my work also.
Yeah.
I think it can be hard to switch from an I to a we, like when you've been used to an I for a long time. And because it can really feel like it's associated with this feeling of sacrifice, or like I'm losing myself.
Yeah. Sacrifice of what I want, what I need, what my values are, right? We become so married to those things, right? What I want out of life, what I need, what I think is right, what I think is wrong. And that's not to say you should put those aside, but it can be hard to navigate the balance, because I think sometimes we're more attached to wants, and we might think that they're needs, but they're not. Like I need to have a husband who is home at 5 o'clock every day so that we can have dinner together. I need a husband who goes to the gym 5 days a week. I need, those are not needs.
No, those are nice to have.
Yeah. But not needs. So I think that's one of the challenges, is sorting through as an individual, what are your real needs, your real non-negotiables versus things that would be nice.
We talked about this in a previous episode. We will link that at the bottom because I do not recall which one exactly it is, but talking about non-negotiables and deciphering, really, is this really a non-negotiable or is this a nice to have?
I think it was the compromise episode. But we'll see. We'll double check on that.
We will definitely link that below because I think going through that can be really, really valuable. I think another thing that's hard in becoming a we is like you have your nice little I habits and I routines, and I know what my habits and routines were, and when I became a we, I had to let some of those go or modify some of those because I wasn't just kind of functioning for one. I was functioning as a part of a team. And that can be a little bit challenging, especially if I think this is more challenging if you maybe haven't been in a relationship for a while, or you've been dating for a while and you like to date more casually, and maybe you're entering a more serious relationship, and you're considering things like moving in together for the first time, or spending a significantly more time together, where like if you have really fixed kind of habits and routines and now you throw another person in there, it can be a lot.
Yeah. And I've actually had this come up with one couple in particular where like we kind of realized that one of the real challenges they were experiencing was they just didn't have enough time together. They really didn't have that quality time on a consistent basis that you need to refill the emotional bank account. And when we broke it down, we realized that they had both maintained a lot of habits and routines from when they were on their own. So one partner always got up really early to go to the gym before work, and then went to work, and then would get home at, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock from commuting. But the other partner had a habit of going to the gym after work. So she would be going to the gym. So they'd be on basically these opposite schedules. They wouldn't even wake up together in the morning. Their work schedules were a bit different. And then they would be going to the gym and doing the same activity, but at a completely different time of day. So by the time they get home, they're exhausted, it's late, and now they haven't even had the opportunity to eat dinner together because one was at the gym. So everything was crisscrossed, and something so simple as, when we worked through it and, were able to help them come to a compromise and put a new plan in place, it was like huge changes because they had that quality time together, working out together. They then opened up the time to have dinner together, waking up in the morning, like everything shifted, and it was just such a plus in their relationship. So it really is significant.
Yeah. I think this is one where like people forget that relationships exist in time. And your relationship needs time to grow. And if you're not giving it that time, it's not going to grow. And I think time investment is a really big part of becoming a we.
Yeah.
Another big thing that I've noticed, and tell me if you've noticed this, like in becoming a we, is I think certain parts of our society like really overvalue the I and like undervalue the we. Like you have to do what's best for you. Like, all those cliche kind of advice columns and things like that there. You have to put yourself first. You have to do what's right for you. You have to be your own best friend. You have to watch out for number one. Like all that messaging that's like I. And I think it's really easy to misinterpret that. Like I think that can apply to certain parts of your life. I think you should do what's best for you at work. I think you should, put yourself first when it comes to certain situations. But to say like, this is how I live in my relationship, and if I let go of this like I mentality, I'm losing myself or giving myself up or giving up my power and becoming subservient. This is like where I see it happen most. Where it's most problematic is when you feel like there's a real kind of downgrade in power. I think that's where we tend to run into issues. And I know I worked with a young couple that came for some premarital, and, it was this guy that came from this really like warm, loving family, and his partner, she, had a single mom who like worked multiple jobs just to provide her a really good home and to put her through university. And the messaging she consistently got from her mom was, you must be independent. You must only do for yourself. You are your own best friend. You can never trust anybody. You are who is going to watch out for you. Like all the messaging was I. And so she'd been in this relationship and they got engaged. And he was like almost sensing this coldness from her because she was so scared to like truly integrate in the relationship because she felt like she was going to lose her sense of personal power.
Wow.
Right? And when we worked through it and she realized that like he was not going to take anything away from her, if anything, he was going to bolster her up, and he very much so did. He was very supportive of her career path, of her education path, of a lot of like personal projects that she had in her life. Like that is what becoming a we like on the inside is. Like I always think there's like your inside world and your outside world, and your inside world's your we. Like when you can really integrate on that we level, it can really like bolster you up to the rest of the world. And she was really able to let go of that mentality when it came to her relationship. And she was fine with and like really embraced making decisions that really involved both of them and feeling empowered by that as opposed to disempowered.
That's great. That's really good. I love that.
Yeah, it was very like heartwarming. I was very, very touched by that, and I actually saw some of their wedding photos, and I was very happy. So,
because if you think about, I know I always think about this, like, what if they hadn't seen you? What's likely to have happened? What's likely to have happened is they could have ended their relationship because this got too hard to manage and they didn't have the tools to cope with it. So I just, I don't know. I love when things like that, come up, and it was really like you were able to set them on the right track.
So what are some other things that you think are challenges in becoming a we?
I think that, pressure from the outside world, in the same way that we get, which is kind of funny actually, now that we're talking about it, the same way that we get this messaging about I, some of us also get messaging about becoming a we. So we get, well, when are you going to get married? You're going to, you two have been in a relationship for so long. What are you waiting for? When are you going to move in together? Or, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it, right? Like all these like societal pressures
exactly
to become a we, which, okay, like that's very nice outside worlds that you feel like this person should become a we or everybody should become a we, but not everybody's ready. And that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the big message here is like you are the one who knows when you're ready. You get to evaluate that.
Yeah.
But in evaluating that, you also have to challenge yourself. You have to ask yourself the hard questions, not just like travel down what feels the easiest, which is what people kind of tend to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Is go for what's easiest. If you really want to evaluate, you really have to ask yourself the questions that we had talked about before to know if you're ready to delve into like some of that deeper stuff. Because there are mixed messages.
Right. And you may find, in considering those things that either you don't feel ready or it might feel like it's too big of a commitment for right now. You may not feel like the decision was yours. You may feel pushed or like people are, forcing you into it, which is very disempowering and, not a good place to be coming from with this type of decision.
Yeah, and I know we've seen quite a few, like I personally have seen quite a few couples where it will come out that like, oh, I didn't feel ready to get engaged, but I felt so pressured. And the worst is when that comes out 15 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, in the long run. And, I think one of the most common, which we kind of touched on earlier, is people aren't always really clear on what being a we entails and what being married entails and what being in a committed relationship, is like, and not just society's definition, but talking through the two I stuff, right? Like talking through what I think a marriage is, what my partner thinks a marriage is, and then constructing our shared vision of what a marriage is. So
Mm-hmm.
without that, you're kind of going in blind to this
Mm-hmm.
decision.
Which again reminds me of our bonus that we made um, in talking about creating shared dreams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's, utilizing that bonus, but to talk about your vision of what a relationship should look like
Yeah.
is a great place to start in terms of seeing, is we, you know, are you ready for that we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great suggestion.
So we're gonna link that also. We're gonna link that bonus below.
What
So
do you? Mm,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, what are your tips? Like, what have you seen be helpful for becoming a we without losing the I?
So I think the biggest one is like you have to maintain your sense of identity. Like we talked about earlier, like there's a big difference between going from I to we and going from two I's to
Mm-hmm.
like one giant capital I and jumping like too deep into that pool and almost like creating a codependence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's about like maintaining your own sense of identity. So still coming to the table being who you are. It's just shifting your mindset and extending a consideration, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're still you, and as long as you can like keep that, like I'm still me, all I'm doing differently is I'm shifting my mindset from I to we,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm extending the consideration. So when I make a decision that may affect my partner, I consider my partner in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just those two little things I think can make a really huge difference, because I see a lot of couples where one partner will say like, I feel like I lost myself. When
Mm-hmm.
I went to we, like when we became serious, I feel like I lost myself.
Yeah.
And it happens because of a misconception of what we really looks like. Again,
Mm-hmm.
we is not, we have to agree on everything. We have to spend 100% of our time together. We have to have, all the exact same goals and all the exact same values. No, you can stay who you are while shifting a mindset and extending a consideration.
Yeah. And have your friends, have your own friends, have your own hobbies and interests, and work towards, your individual goals. Like, that's your life. That's your identity. That's who you are. And then your relationship is sort of like the place you come home to and your support center and your cheerleader, like that's sort of, I guess we're reframing what the balance really should look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, when I work with couples who like get it right, like that moment when it switches,
Mm-hmm.
when like when they come in and you're talking to them and they're like, she went out with her friends and I was so happy for her.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
like he did this project and I was so happy for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like then there's this integration of like the decision was made that considered our system, that considered both of us, and this is what was enriching to both of us. And
Yeah.
because of that, like I bolster my partner up. I don't sit there with crossed arms being like looking at the clock being like, oh, well, she said she'd be home at 9:30 and it's 9:37.
Yeah.
She is not being considerate and blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
not spiraling down like that.
Totally.
So how do we create our own we?
Well, I think you have to make it intentional, right? You can't just wing it. I mean, you can wing it, but I don't know how well that's going to go. So, making it an intentional process where you're exploring your individual needs, your wishes, your desires, and then sharing that with your partner, right? So, where are we aligned? What do we agree on? How can we expand that and build on that? What do we not agree on? How can we compromise, right? Like, so going through this very intentional process. And, you can go back. It's episode 12. That was the compromise episode, how to agree to disagree. That bonus will walk you through this exact process. You just want to tailor the topic to becoming a we and what we want out of our relationship.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to agree on everything. You just have to really understand where your partner is coming from.
Right.
You're getting to understanding, not to agreement. And I think that's a huge, like, if you think of becoming a we as getting to a place of understanding, I think that you're 95% of the way.
Yeah.
There.
Definitely. So go back and listen to episode 12. And then go back and listen to episode 15, which you mentioned earlier, how to get your partner to support your life streams. Those are the two that would really be prerequisites for this process, I would say. And then, so listen to those, get in that headspace, and then download this week's bonus, the foolproof guide from going from I to we, and go through that process with your partner. And you'll be in great shape.
Again, we don't want you to just listen. We want you to listen and integrate this into your relationship. So we've put together our bonus, and you can get it at simplygreatrelationships.com/029. And if you know that this is a hot button issue in your relationship and don't feel like you can resolve it on your own, let us help. This is what we do. The quickest way to a Simply Great relationship is to work directly with one of us. And we're really, really easy to reach and get a hold of. You can send us an email at info@simplygreatrelationships.com, or you can text us, which is, I feel like, at least people I work with, that's their favorite mode of communication.
Yep.
So we are textable at 914-440-4814. You can also visit our website, simplygreatrelationships.com, and submit a request to talk to us there. And we will definitely get back to you. Let's talk takeaways.
Takeaways. I don't know. I think for me, the biggest takeaway is just that it really needs to be an intentional process, that it's not as flowy and natural as I think portrayed in society and the media, and that it would be amazing if we could almost do pre-committed relationship preparations with everybody and set, because that would just set couples up for such success and happiness and reduce conflict and drama. And, that's our goal ultimately, right? Like, we just want people to be as happy in their relationships as we are in ours. And whatever we can do to share those tips and tricks, we want to do. So I think just taking in the mindset that this is an intentional process and needs to be an intentional process that takes work and talking and self-exploration, I think that's my takeaway.
Yeah, I think my takeaway is like really tied into your takeaway, which is like, it's okay to not be ready for that process, but you have to go through the questions. Like, you have to go through an intentional process of evaluation, and then say this may not be for me, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's not for you right now, it doesn't mean it's never for you, or it doesn't mean that it has to be for you. It's just either one is okay as long as either choice is intentional and empowering.
Yep. Definitely.
Well, that's all for today. We hope that you take these tips and start integrating them right away. And we'd love to continue the conversation with you in our Facebook group, where we'll be doing Facebook Lives and hooking you up with tips and tricks and all kinds of great content that's exclusive for our members. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/simplygreatrelationships, or go to our website, simplygreatrelationships.com, and click on the Facebook icon there. Until next time.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.